Alex. I am genderqueer, assigned female at birth, and I identify under the trans umbrella. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about binders. To start off with, binding is the act of using a garment or something of the sort to flatten one's breasts to achieve a flat look. The proper way to do so is using a binder, but many people also will use other means, like ace bandages, duct tape, ripped cloth, and a whole array of other stuff. And I want to talk to you guys about safe binding. I was 15 when I started figuring out my gender, and I was lucky enough to be within a community where binders were talked about openly. So I knew what they were, I knew where to find them, and I knew what not to use. Things not to use: ace bandages, duct tape, basically anything that isn't a binder. Which, it's like this one. I was 15 when I got my first one, which is this piece of crap. It was uncomfortable. It wasn't that expensive. It was about $30, and I got it from a place that I have found just isn't that good to rely on for binding anymore. There's a huge problem in media where people who bind are portrayed binding without binders, or they're portrayed binding in unsafe ways. And it's really frustrating because it hurts inexperienced, questioning people the most, because they don't know to seek out properly made and properly functioning binders like this one. Because they only see people using ace bandages, so they think that this is the only way. This is extremely detrimental to them, because you can seriously hurt yourself with these ways of binding. And I'll add a few links in whatever description to direct you guys to places to read up on that kind of stuff, because it's to the point where if you bind with ace bandages, you could do things like bruise or fracture ribs. And that's really, 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 really not good, and people shouldn't be doing that. You should be taking care of your body first and foremost. So, I want to start something where transmasculine and non-binary afab people promote better binding. I want to do this in the way where binders are always seen as something that are to be hidden, and it's for obvious reasons. But I want people who will be comfortable with doing so taking off their shirts. This is a weird way to say, but taking off their shirts and taking pictures of themselves in their binders to show that this is the way that most trans people bind. Because if we start doing that, then inexperienced trans people will begin to see that this is the correct way to bind. This is something that is very, very common. Because without that, they won't know, and they will continue to bind unsafely. So that's kind of why I want to start the hashtag BETTERBINDING. Basically, what you do is you take a selfie of yourself in your binder, or just a picture of yourself in your binder in general. You post it, you tag it, hashtag BETTERBINDING, and then you also add where you got your binder, maybe if you want to add any other information about your experience getting your first binder, any places that you've tried but didn't like, any places that you've tried and the binders were so horrible that it hurt you in some way. Basically giving inexperienced trans people resources, because it's still to the point where they just don't know. There's not enough resources. And if you aren't transmasculine or afab non-binary, but you want to help in a way, maybe if you're an artist, you can contribute by drawing characters in better binding, in actual binders, and tagging it hashtag BETTERBINDING. Because if artists start adapting this as well, because this is something that I see in a lot of art has bad binding. And so if artists start adapting to better binding and portraying trans characters with actual binders, that means more questioning trans kids will have that resource and have that knowledge that this is a way to bind, this is the proper way to bind. So what I'm gonna go do right now, I'm gonna go take a picture of myself in my binder, probably a selfie. I'm gonna post it on every social media network I have, I'm gonna try to start to get it out there. I'm gonna tell people about what I'm trying to do, and hopefully you guys will help out and we can get this thing started, because it's a serious problem and we should be taking care of the new kids. Peace. It was really bad, I'm sorry. But bye.